The score stands 10-8 in the favor of Arjun Erigaisi. We are now to the next game of the death match between Gukesh and Arjun. Gukesh has the white pieces. He scored 2 wins in the last 2 blitz game, which have narrowed the score between the players to just 2 points difference. 10-8 is the score. The arbiter signals to start the games. Gukesh with white opens with d4. It's 4 minutes plus 2 seconds increment. Knight f6, c4, e6. The knight comes out to f3 and we have the queen's gambit declined. Oh, c5, the Tarash variation and the semi-Tarash played here by Arjun and e3 by Gukesh. We have the isolated queen pawn position. Arjun takes queen c7, attacking the pawn. A normal move here would be bishop d2, but Gukesh goes a4. He doesn't defend the pawn and he plays a5 because queen takes c3. He wants to meet with bishop d2. This has been played before by Gukesh against Sam Shankland, so he is in his prep. Bishop d6 is a new move that Arjun has played now. Clearly, Arjun did not like the fact that bishop d2 and rook c1 would come so quickly. Now Gukesh defends the pawn. The position is such that white has nice pawns in the center, but black has very rapid development. With the pawn on a5, somehow b6 is not so easy to engineer, and that's why rook b8 would be a nice move here. Planning b6, quickly bishop b7, and I think black has no problems in the opening. But knight f6 is not a good move here by Arjun because he's not solving his problem. Well, he does solve it with bishop coming to d7, but it's a slight downgrade there. Because now after rook e1 and knight e5, the knight's going to sit right in the center of the board. Time-wise, both players actually moving pretty quickly. They have gotten into the flow of this match now. Arjun very focused. He needs to win this game. Otherwise, Gukesh will equalize the scores and this will really create big problems for him as the momentum would be with Gukesh. Rook e1 played. Nice move there by Gukesh. Now, how should Arjun continue? If he goes bishop c6, which is his intended plan, then knight e5, attacking the bishop, followed by c4 later. And so, right now, Arjun will have to decide in which way he wants to go. b5 is another option, just trying to gain some space and stopping the pawns on c3 and d4. But I'm not so clear here. He goes b6. And Gukesh now pushes his pawn to a6, which is a very interesting move here. Gaining more space. And of course, this pawn will come in handy later. The b7 square could become important. b5 played here by Arjun. Knight jumps to e5. Quickly played by Gukesh. Arjun feeling the pressure now. His bishop is attacked. Does he want to part away with the bishop? Maybe he has to, because bishop e8 would just block the communication between the two rooks. Also, the knight is so beautifully positioned here with bishop g5 coming up, the queen moving to f3 and then switching to h3. You can sense that this attack is going to go naturally forward. Rook fc8 played. And now Gukesh can take here, because after queen takes, you have many ways to continue. Queen f3, bishop g5, queen h3, all of these moves. Let's see. Gukesh goes queen f3. He builds up the pressure, but now Arjun can go bishop e8. Yes, he does, and keep the bishop pair in the position. White is still better, and a natural move for me now is queen h3. But Gukesh goes h4, which is also a beautiful move. He's trying to gain space on the king side with h5, h6, and softening up the king side with the two bishops looking there. It can become dangerous. Knight jumps to d5. And that's a good move there by Arjun Erigaisi. h5 played, and now very important to push the pawn to h6 and play this position. Yes, I know it's very risky because queen e4 and there are attacks there, but somehow you will have to go h6. You can't allow Gukesh to go h6 here and weaken your dark squares. That would be a bit too much. You can feel Gukesh being very confident there. And Arjun goes f6, knight g4, very quickly played there by Gukesh, which is a good move. There was also a possibility of playing c4, just completely blasting open the position, but of course knight g4 is a good move. Now threatening h6, and if you take bishop h5, Then here rook takes e6 is hanging. So he goes bishop f7 and h6 played. Arjun goes bishop f4. His point is, if you trade, I want to bring in the queen, I want to trade the queens, and then I will have good defensive chances. An amazing move here for Gukesh is knight e3. It's a very tough move. It's a backward move. You are giving up this pawn on h6. It's not at all easy to foresee. But the point is, if you take on h6, I'm going to take on d5, then take on h6 and completely ruin your position. So this is the reason why knight e3 is a very, very strong move here for Gukesh. But it's so tough to find also with just 2 minutes 20 seconds. Not at all easy. But you know, these youngsters always are surprising us with their moves. Of course, with the bishop moving to f7, one should not forget that the b5 pawn is hanging many times. For example, take, and bishop b5. This is possible. But then your c3 pawn would be hanging. And all of these calculations are going on in Gukesh's mind as he goes down below 2 minutes, finds knight e3. Wow, what a move there by Gukesh. Finds the best move here, because now if you take bishop e3, I have fe3 and I'm going to push you away. And if you take knight e3, then I'll play bishop e3, bishop takes e3 and rook takes e3, and this resulting position is very, very positive for white, because the bishop is looking here and here. The rook is very powerfully placed. He takes bishop e3, and now fe3, an important move to play for Gukesh. He can also take with the bishop, but then he has to contend with some knight c3 ideas. fe3 is very good, because if you take knight c3, I will simply take and get a very good position. After bishop e4, rook b8, queen g4, the attack on the king side just breaks through. So bishop g6 played. Arjun is smart. He knows that he must trade pieces. Now Gukesh can go e4, but with e4, knight c3 becomes a real possibility, because now there are problems here. There is no discovered check here to win this piece here. So Gukesh finds another good move. Bishop takes b5, which is the best move in the position. Still, taking on c3 is not really feasible because of take, and bishop d7. We'll see if Arjun goes for this or not. Rook a b8 may be the best move in the position, but then you have c4 defending the bishop and also attacking the knight. Arjun down to 50 seconds on the clock, in an inferior position, also staring at the scores getting equalized, losing 3 blitz games in a row. Oh my goodness, what a comeback this is going to be by Gukesh if that happens. He takes the pawn, but now Gukesh can actually chop this, bishop d7, and that is what he should do. He's very, very calm and focused there, Gukesh, and I think that's very important when you are in a winning position. You have to keep your calm, you have to keep your nerves. 1 minute 14 seconds. I think he's also calculating rook a c1. This is also a very, very tempting move here in order to win a piece, and I don't see very clearly how is black going to stop from losing a piece, because here rook c3, bishop c3. Oh, there is also queen a8 hanging, and so queen b5 might be the move, but then queen b7, and a very powerful move that completely ends the game. So that's the reason why these are all the tactics you have to consider. But he goes bishop c3, queen c3, and bishop d7. So Gukesh says, I don't want to get into all those complications where rook c1 pinning and all was there. I'm simply going to go bishop d7, and after rook f8, chop off the pawn on e6. It's a free pawn. It's a nice juicy pawn. King h8, and now you can just take on g7. The king is weak for black. For now, Gukesh is just thinking whether to first take. He goes rook c1, trying to enter down the 7th heaven here on the 7th rank. Goes queen a5, trying to stop the rook from entering there. 30 seconds for Arjun, 28 for Gukesh. This should be winning for Gukesh clearly. He's a pawn up, but then under time pressure, anything can go wrong. And now queen g3, he's given up the a6 pawn, which I think Arjun can take, but he first goes rook e8. He brings his bishop in the game. These are the positions where Arjun is very, very dangerous. He can actually wriggle out of these mess very, very often because of his ability to calculate. But let's see if Gukesh manages to keep things under control here. check, king goes to h8. How do you continue? One idea is to go queen f4 with the idea of queen h6 and trying to threaten a mate. Other is to go via h4. He goes rook to b1. He wants to go with his rook to b7. And Arjun now waiting. He has 9 seconds. He goes queen d3, attacking the rook. But the rook can actually move in. The only thing to worry about is there if there's a perpetual check. Check, king up, check comes in. He goes back, trying to gain couple of seconds there. Arjun, maybe a glimmer of hope. Is there a perpetual? And now Gukesh must trade, because even though he would trade queens, this d pawn is tremendously strong, and with 2 rooks on the 7th rank, it's not a good idea. Now check. You can go king g1 back. He goes g3, which is also a fine move. h5 played. He makes the piece fall. Gukesh presses the clock back and Arjun adjusts it. Queen h4 played. Queen g5, offering a queen trade. Queen comes to f4. This is getting intense. Gukesh down to just 1 second. Oh my goodness. Arjun plays rook a8. Takes the queen. I think Gukesh has found it. d6. The pawn is moving forward. d7. Rook c8. Look at Gukesh in clutch mode there. d7. He trades. Rook takes. But now the a pawn. How dangerous is it? He goes rook d5. Takes the pawn. And Arjun plays his pawn to a2. Gukesh takes. And he's not very happy. But somehow he's managed to have 2 extra pawns. And this is a winning rook endgame. This is not at all a draw. Although f and h pawns are a draw, you have g and e pawns here. And this should be winning. Just needs some bit of care to be taken. Check. King comes to g4. Gukesh now needs to be a little careful. He gives a check. Arjun can go back, but then he would keep his extra pawn here. Maybe he can come forward. He comes forward. Now the e pawn is being lost. Gukesh trusting the fact that he will win this endgame with g4. Oh, he's going for the Lucena. g5 and check. King e5. Rook comes back to f2. And you have cut the black king off. This is completely winning. g6. And it is game over. Arjun tries to give last check. Rook h3. Gukesh moves his king forward and pushes the pawn ahead. And now a check. And he resigns. Gukesh equalizes the score. 10-10. What a comeback here by Gukesh. 3 wins in a row. This match is going down to the wire. An unbelievable death match taking place between 2 of the most talented youngsters of Indian chess and in fact the world of chess here.